cabinet choices for Mr. Trudeau, Mr. Guilbeault, who spent more time trying to shut down Canadian jobs than to ever create one. We have a very ideological left Trudeau government now joining forces with the party it basically occupies the space of, the NDP. So we're going to have some strong voices to raise the alarm bell because I think Canadian prosperity is at risk, and Pierre will be an important part of that process. Well, the way our parliament works is the opposition is not the sidelines. In fact, Mr. Trudeau doesn't want an opposition. He's buying Mr. Singh for that reason, and I'm hoping you will ask questions about the coalition because we're reading about it. Both Mr. Trudeau and Mr. Singh ran against one another just a few weeks ago. Now, no Canadian had to factor in a coalition to their voting decision. So we will continue to ask those questions. In my call with Mr. Trudeau, I raised reconciliation, as I mentioned yesterday. I raised concerns about a return to Parliament. We don't want to see a virtual lack of scrutiny and more obfuscation by the Liberals at committee. There is also concern about him dividing people on vaccines. In fact, Mr. Trudeau misled Canadians on his own vaccine mandates. We're seeing this daily with rules in transportation not being what he promised. We're seeing Correctional Services Canada not following the mandate he promised before the election. So we'll be posing those questions. I know you'll be posing those questions as well to hold Mr. Trudeau to account for what he says, which is also always very different than what he does.
C10.
Well, when it comes to Bill C10, we had very clear concerns about the erosion of personal liberty and freedom on the internet. We don't want to see the CRTC starting to regulate people's social media accounts. And most Canadians don't either. So we will see what the Liberals propose. But I think it's fundamental to note, we have to have an effective opposition that not only questions, scrutinizes, asks questions about the ethical conduct of Justin Trudeau, who has broken federal ethics laws multiple times. There is a role for the opposition. So perhaps Mr. Singh and the NDP caucus don't feel there's a role and they can agree to support him in an unlimited fashion. We will not. We will look at everything that comes forward. We will propose our own measures on everything from inflation to countering vaccine hesitancy. And the cost of living crisis right now, the inflation Canada's facing, the out-of-control debt that's accumulating on the backs of our children. I spoke with a high school class.
You're the opposition.
The Prime Minister
investigate allegations. It is